All right, in this little video, we're going to talk about the importance of keeping your data organized. So I want to run through kind of a hypothetical situation here as thought experiment. So think about what the hardest class was that you took your first semester at BYU. Now, let's imagine that this scenario happens. So let's imagine that yesterday you just finished your last final at BYU. You're going to graduate next week, and then you've got this great new job that you're excited for. Life is feeling really good. But then you get this email from the registrar's office, and they say, you know what, we lost your grade. Actually, we lost everybody's grade from that class, your first semester at BYU, whatever that hardest class was. We lost all those grades and a bunch of the class didn't pass, and we don't know if you did or not. And if you're going to graduate, we need to give you credit for that, but we can't just give it to you if you're one of those people who passed. So we're going to need you to come in and take the final for that test. And if you can pass it, then great, you're going to get credit. Otherwise, you're not going to graduate. So how are you going to feel at this moment? Obviously, really frustrated. But what if that previous scenario was completely open note? You could use all your notes. Now, if you took really good notes, if you were very organized and kept those notes, you're going to be a lot less nervous than if you didn't keep your notes or you didn't take good notes or you were very, very disorganized. So, in this kind of situation, which would never happen, but if it did, right, being organized is going to help you be a lot more successful. Now, in reality, that scenario isn't perfect because data cleaning, data management, analysis is often this very team focused collaborative effort. We're doing this as a group. It's very, very rare that a researcher is just doing things on their own. So let's imagine it's that kind of same scenario, right? You're about to graduate, but they're like, oh, shoot, you had to have had Chem 105 and you never took it. You're about to graduate, but if you can come in and take the final for Chem 105, um, you can pass the class. But in this case, right, you never took it, so you don't have your own notes. But let's say your friend was like, "Oh, I took Chem 105 here. You can take my notes because they said it's open data." So if your friend again took very good notes and was very organized, it's going to make things a lot easier for you. It's not going to be easy still, but a lot easier. If they were disorganized, it's going to make it a lot harder to use their notes or their information. Let me share two examples of where this has mattered in my own life. One was I was working on a project, and a colleague said, "Hey, yeah, we've got the data, we've cleaned it already. Here you go. Go ahead and do your part." And when they sent me their cleaned data, I'm doing air quotes, it was a disaster. It had not been cleaned. They didn't have a code book. Their names didn't make sense. I mean, they had done some cleaning, but they had done it wrong, and some recoding improperly, and it took us 6 months to wade through that. We went back and forth over email a bunch of send us this, send us this, send us this, and they just had done a really poor job, and it took my team 6 months to correct their mistakes. It was a disaster. Now, this next story I'm going to share makes me look really positive. And to be clear, I haven't always been great about this, but the longer I've been a researcher, the better I am because I see its importance. This happened, oh man, it was several years ago now, maybe 5 or 6. Um, a colleague that we had worked on this paper published a paper together probably in 2013. So it had been several years before this happened. We'd done this study and published it. And somebody was doing some additional work related to what we had done, but they needed some specific information about what we had done, and it wasn't all reported in the paper. It was something fairly small, something not always reported, but they needed like this particular one number. Um, and so I was like, sure, yeah, I can get that. I went back, I had all the files saved. I had very clear notes and all of my script. I was able to go find the part they needed. I processed the code, ran it. It took me about 5 minutes to find it, process the code, email them that number they needed. And that great organization, right, made that very, very easy. All right, so I want to hit on two types of organization here that are going to be really important. One we're going to call macro organization, one we're going to call micro. So macro is about keeping your files organized, and I've already touched on this in class a little bit, but it's helpful to see it here in a video. And then micro is the organization in your scripts. Um, Keeping good notes within your script, highlighting why you made certain choices, etc. So macro organization, every project that I work on, I have a folder for that project. And I'll have subfolders in there. I'll have a folder for the data that haven't been cleaned yet. I'm going to have a folder for the data that have been cleaned. So the dirty data folder is the one I'm going to import from. When it's all done and I'm going to export that clean data, I save it in my clean data folder. I have a folder for my scripts. I have a folder for my code books. I also add like folders for my analytic strategies and my writing of the paper or the project. I'll add a folder for my graphs or my plots from ggplot that we're going to learn later this semester. I shared this in class too, but I tend to be a little bit over the top in that every time I work on a project, I save a new copy of that script. It just partly one, it's satisfying to see all those, but two, right, if I've deleted something out of that script that I liked in a previous version, then I've got it saved there. I don't know if you need to be this extreme, but this is the kind of like level of detail that helps you be a really good data cleaner and data manager. All right, so you want to be really good then at keeping notes within your script. I like to do these big kind of headers that visually break up sections and the 4 hashtags to collapse things. I share this as I've never done this myself, but I have a colleague that this is her favorite thing. She will have like this table of contents at the top and label them by section numbers. And then she can just like do a control F to search and jump to those different sections in her script. I think it's pretty cool, even though I don't use it myself. And then this last part is really, really important. Uh, as a data manager, data cleaner, you're going to come across situations where you have to make a decision. Where there's a certain value in the data that doesn't match anything that it should be, and you don't know why or where that came from. You've explored all the data and tried to figure it out, but you can't. And in those cases, you had to make a choice. I always love to leave a comment there about why I recoded something a certain way. Even in this class, right, everything's a little condensed. You're going to work on a learning assignment and it's due that week or the next, and you're going to do things over days or over weeks. But in real life with data management and cleaning, sometimes these projects go on over months, right? You do a part now and then a part later, and these notes really help you not waste time in trying to figure out why you did things because you already explained it to yourself, essentially. Okay, that's it. We'll see you in class.